The Wall Street Journal profiles the growing trend of single people coming home from dates and entering their date into a spreadsheet before deciding if there will be a second one. A college professor who has taught for 2 decades says most students can no longer finish a book. And the data behind that statement is worse than you'd expect. And a man spent 33 days alone in the Pacific Ocean after his mast snapped, fashioning repairs, licking condensation off plastic bags to drink, and feeling suicidal before deciding to fight his way to Hawaii. He wants to sail again. Every day, the news cycle produces roughly 1,000 stories. About 6 of them are about politics. I went looking for the rest. This is News SideQuest. The Wall Street Journal published a piece this weekend on what researchers are calling love hackers, a growing subset of the dating population who use spreadsheets to systematically evaluate their romantic prospects and who consider this not a sign of dysfunction but a rational response to a genuinely exhausting process. The academic context comes from a Cornell University researcher who interviewed 42 love hackers and analyzed 24 of their actual spreadsheets for a paper published in the journal Information, Communication, and Society. The spreadsheets varied considerably. Some tracked basic logistics, names where they met, whether there was a second date. Others went considerably deeper. One tracked up to 70 data fields per person, including things like red flags, conversation quality, physical chemistry rating, and notes on follow-up behavior after the date. After enough swiping, messaging, and disappointing dates, the spreadsheet feels like taking back agency in a process that otherwise feels completely random. The data becomes a way of making sense of something that persistently refuses to make sense. The specific behaviors in the piece paint a specific picture. People rushing home after dates to enter their evaluation before the emotional texture fades, rating chemistry on a scale, tracking green flags and red flags in separate columns, comparing someone's score in week 3 against their initial score, looking for patterns across a year of data. I'm glad Misty and I found each other before things went apocalyptic. Of course, I mean that with zero condescension toward the people doing this. They're responding rationally to a genuinely irrational market, the $189 average date cost. The matching algorithms optimized for engagement rather than compatibility, the sheer volume of options that paradoxically makes each individual choice harder. A spreadsheet is a completely logical response to all of that. If you found out you were a data field on someone's dating spreadsheet, would you be offended, or would you see it as due diligence? If you were going to build one, what's the first column you'd add?
Oh, to be young and to feel love's keen sting.
Austin Serrett is the William Nelson Cromwell Professor of Jurisprudence and Political Science at Amherst College. He has taught humanities and social sciences there for 2 decades. He published a piece in Fortune yesterday that I want to give real attention because it's the most specific first-person witness account we've had of the reading crisis, and the data he cites is genuinely alarming. Serrett writes, "I've spent 2 decades teaching humanities and social sciences at Amherst College, and my classes have always been built on one assumption, that students would do the reading. Long, dense texts week after week. Lately, that assumption has started to feel naive. Students now come to my office not to discuss what they've read, but to ask how to skim it. I generally refuse." A 2024 to 2025 survey of 1,250 high school English teachers found they assigned an average of 2.81 full books a year, down from 4 books annually in a comparable 2008 to 2009 survey of 400 teachers. Some high schoolers now read no complete books at all, only excerpts. The decline isn't confined to teenagers. The National Endowment for the Arts found in 2024 that only 49% of adults reported reading at least 1 book in the past year, down from nearly 55% a decade earlier. Reading proficiency is falling too. 32% of 12th graders scored below basic reading levels in 2025, up from 24% in 2002. Martin West, an education professor at Harvard, has said American literacy skills peaked in the mid-2010s and have been falling since. Sarat's framing of what's actually being lost is the piece I want to sit with. He writes that close reading, the slow, deliberate kind that can't be shortcut, is the skill he's trying to teach, and that it has implications well beyond literature. Reading is how we learn to live with complexity, to sit with ambiguity, to resist the pull of easy answers. I wanted to know is causing our cascading dumbing. Sarat doesn't pin it on one cause. He names the obvious suspects. Screens, shortened attention spans, a testing culture that rewards excerpts over books. But he also makes a more uncomfortable point. The problem started before these students reached college. Some arrived having never finished a complete book in high school at all. This is the third time we've come back to this story this year. The reading recession in March, the Gen Z can't read a sentence piece in June, and now this. The pattern is consistent and the direction hasn't changed. What's the last book you actually finished and what made you finish it?
Some had high hopes that genetic engineering would correct this trend in evolution. But sadly, the greatest minds and resources were focused on conquering hair loss and prolonging erections.
Kai Sato is 39 years old from California. On June 7th, he set sail from Catalina Island on an attempt to complete his first solo crossing of the Pacific Ocean to Hawaii. 2 weeks into the journey, the mast on his sailboat snapped. When he tried to motor back to shore, he ran out of gas around 500 miles from California. His phone died. He was outside the major shipping lanes, drifting south in the current, invisible to anyone who might have been looking. What happened next is the real story. I cried for a whole week just drifting south like miserable, Sato told Hawaii News Now. I felt like I was going to just try to turn my motor on and just suffocate, to kill myself. After 5 days of despair, something shifted. He started working. He fashioned makeshift repairs to the boat using PVC pipes and kayak paddles. He survived on leftover oatmeal, fish, and squid that landed in his boat. By July 11th, he had run out of water. He filled buckets with seawater and tied plastic bags over them to collect condensation. I was just licking that to survive, he said. For mental survival, he stayed sane by calling out for guidance, meditating, and talking to the water and the wind. He said he felt the presence of his uncle, who had sailed from California to Hawaii with him when he was a young boy. Then on July 15th, a Pasha Hawaii cargo ship came into view. The crew dropped a rope ladder. He climbed it. He's now safe in Hawaii. He is planning his next voyage to the Philippines. I genuinely can't wrap my head around within stories like this is the boredom, not how you survive physically, but how you survive mentally. And Sato's answer is specific. He talked to things. He meditated. He felt his uncle's presence. He worked on the boat. He gave his mind something to hold on to. That's the survival story that doesn't make the headline. What's the longest you've been genuinely alone with nothing to occupy you, with no screens, no to-do list, just you and your own mind? And what happened in your head during it?
Well done!
A Chicago Scream Club lets members show up and scream with no other agenda, into pillows, into the open air, against whatever they need to release. If you feel like you need a good scream into the void, this is a service that exists now in the city I call home.
I'm insane with anger!
Several American Airlines flight attendants fell mysteriously ill mid-flight, requiring medical attention. The cause has not been publicly confirmed. This is literally the plot of the movie Airplane. Although the key difference from the movie is that nobody has yet asked if anyone aboard knows how to fly a plane.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your stewardess speaking. We regret any inconvenience the sudden cabin movement might have caused. This is due to periodic air pockets we encountered. There's no reason to become alarmed, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your flight. By the way, is there anyone on board who knows how to fly a plane?
Gunther von Hagens, the German anatomist who created the Body World's exhibition of plastinated human cadavers, died at 81. Rest in plastic, sir. And to answer your next question, yes, he has requested that his own body be plastinated and put on display, which is either the most on-brand thing a person has ever done or a profound statement about the relationship between art and death. Possibly both.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you to go back in there and use some form of the word die. Dead, dying, deadsies, deadwood, your choice.
Vending machine burritos have been recalled in 8 states following contamination concerns. Listen, at this point, if you are still willing to eat a burrito from a vending machine given the current headlines about gastrointestinal events, you know what you're signing up for.
Just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
That's it for News Side Quest. 3 questions out there to ponder. Whether you'd be offended to be your date's spreadsheet data field and what column you'd put first in your own. The last book you actually finished and what made you finish it, and the longest you've been genuinely alone with nothing to occupy you and what happened in your head. Email me at newssidequest@gmail.com or pay a visit to the Substack comments. See you tomorrow.